Hello, welcome to another episode of Drinking with Comics. My name is Sean,
And I'm Mike
and we're going to
Beltran.
drink some beer and we're going to talk about some comics. Mike, what are we drinking today? This is one, oh, this is still ice fucking cold too. Wow.
Yeah,
What
it's
are we
freaking
drinking?
freezing outside. Short fuse, Bearie-White. Bear White. It is a gummy bear. Um, Pale wheat.
So,
You can
okay,
read
so
it because
this
I have
is
these fancy lights. I can't read it.
this is Short Fuse Brewing, which is in Schiller Park. I didn't know that. I'm not familiar with this brewery at all.
They're
And
very good. Few I've had.
I'm I'm not really one with like I like white wheats. I'm not really sure about like fruit or gummy bear, but the mission statement of this show is to go where we've not gone before.
Yes. Ooh. Oh, oh, boy. Look at that sexy foamy pour.
Wow, this is really hard to pour, actually. It's very foamy. This is what we would
Ah,
call, my friend Kenta
oh,
knows this as release the shite.
come on, buddy.
Oh, God, it really smells like fucking gummy bears.
Oh, I know, right?
Which is probably actually not that hard to do since like gummy bears are just like chemically, like the
Yeah, I think
flavor and
that.
the smell are all chemicals. So you just put that in your beer. Oh,
There's,
whoa, this is really odd. It's not bad. It's not something I don't think I would
I love it
drink, but
on
I
like a
will.
summer day. I don't drink a lot of these, but I'll drink like a 6 pack a year, maybe 12. Every once in a while. The wife loves it, so we get it every once in a while for her, and she doesn't drink it, and
Not,
then I do.
do you actually go to the brewery?
I have never been to the brewery yet. One of these days we probably will someday. We just haven't had anything to do out there. We discovered it when we were doing shoot, Rosemont. So no one who doesn't know Chicago is going to get this part, but when you drive down the highway going to the airport, from the airport, and there's that little Rosemont section with like the
Yes.
sky jump, and there's like a little area over there. One of those in that little area, there's a bowling alley. One day we're hanging out there, and they had this on tap. We gave it a try and loved the hell out of it.
Huh. It is.
So found it at a Benny's and been drinking it since.
It's very interesting. It is a very standard, and I don't mean that dismissively. There's something to be said
No,
for like a standard white wheat beer. Like I always liked. I think it was Bell's had like a winter white. I forget what they called it, but that was one of my favorites. Oh God, it's been a while. I feel like there was more of those in the 2000s than there are now. Um, I think maybe Leinenkugel's had one for a while, and
yeah,
maybe they still do.
I think Allagash White is a really good one.
Allagash White,
Yeah.
which got really kind of popular for a while, and Hogarden is essentially, or Hogarden. I don't know. I've never found anyone that can tell me how exactly that's pronounced. I need to go like climb a mountain, talk to a fucking monk. Um, but this has that. It's very light bodied.
Hmm.
It doesn't feel like a big commitment, and actually, outside the initial taste, the gummy bear thing is there, but it's not overpowering at
It,
all.
no, it's not. It's just a subtle, sweet, fruity taste to it that you wouldn't even know. If I served it out without telling you it was gummy bears, you'd never know that was gummy bears. You'd just be like, "Oh, it's a fruity wheat."
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
they definitely knew what they did when they made that one.
So this is not necessarily the kind of beer that I would drink when it's 20 degrees outside. However,
I agree.
when you asked me earlier today, what should we drink? And I looked at the fridge, we still have a couple of these that you gave me in the summer linger. And I'm like, actually, you know what? I could use like something summerish right now. So cheers, mate. Good pick.
Cheers.
let's talk about the Superman trailer.
Oh, okay. I cried.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's just a
I
trailer.
want I want you to like feel guilty for whatever bad thing you're gonna say.
I'm not gonna say
um,
anything, but I mean, I think the dog is great. I think that's amazing. Like when you
that's
see
the
it coming, I
part
was like, no shit.
that's the part that made me go, "Oh my God, Crypto, he's gonna save the day."
But I mean, I'm not going to see that movie. It looks like every other fucking Superman movie ever made,
I
except like our friend Chris Van Warmer pointed out. He's like, no, like it's not dark. I'm like, yeah, well, they did do these last couple movies where they're trying to make it all dark and stupid. It looks like it'll be what Superman should be, but I couldn't. I don't know. It's just not for me.
I'm excited. I am super excited about this movie. I think after watching Creature Commandos, seeing the world he's building, I'm intrigued to see this lighter side of that world.
Hmm.
I enjoy the fact that like Guy Gardner's there with his stupid haircut, as he should have. Um, Mr. Terrific's there. There's like these characters are it's like got various characters in there that we see so far, and there's probably going to be a few surprises in there that we're not going to be expecting. And he just it looks hopeful,
Yeah, it's
and
the
I
right
want
tone.
something hopeful. I want a right, happy, hopeful superhero movie that's, Superman. Like I'm not the biggest Superman fan. I'm enjoying Absolute Superman's becoming one of my favorite books right now.
Okay.
Um, but and there's like three or four good stories out there, and the Golden Age, like the first 10 Superman stories are amazing, and I cannot recommend them enough
Like the
because
original.
the original um, Superman. I love it. I just sold this to a kid the other day. He didn't buy it, but he might. But so there's this Superman story in there. Spoilers, anyone, for this book is, what, 75, 80 years old?
Well, wait, how do you sell this to some kid? Is this like a rich kid that came in and bought like Action Comics #1?
They reprinted
What?
it in a graphic novel.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That should have been
Okay,
obvious. I'm
yeah.
thinking like you're taking this off the wall, and this kid's like, I'll take one of those.
So I want you to picture everything you think about Superman.
Okay, done.
Underwear outside, cat from a tree, saves cats from a tree, big old smile. Okay, so there's a Superman story back in the 40s. It's like his 10th outing, maybe 12th. I don't remember offhand. Um, and the story goes like this. So I'm going to give you all the spoilers. You guys had 80 years to read it. Go out and
Please
read
spoil,
it.
please, please.
So it's just the way this story fits in today too, which blows my mind. Basically, the story is this though. These rich people have these oil shares that they're selling to this oil well, and they sold it to a bunch of people that thought they could get, hey, I'm going to put my life savings into this oil well, and we're going to make our money. This is our future, and this is the promise that the rich people make. But of course, the oil well's dry, so there's no oil in the oil well. So the rich people got rich, suckering all the poor people.
Hmm.
Clark Kent gets word of this, interviews or goes and talks to these people, sees these people's like, hey, you know what? I'll give you $1,000 for your oil well stakes. Um, Buys all the oil well stakes from these poor people, gives them $1,000 in 1940s money, mind you, which is a lot of money. He then changes into a Superman costume, goes to the oil well, makes it profitable, makes the oil pop out of it. He drills it using his Superman powers, makes the oil well flourish. The rich people are like, "Oh crap, our oil well is doing great. We should buy back all our stocks from all those suckers. We'll give them like $100 and I'll buy it back from them, and we'll make billions." Once again, 1940s talk. We're going to make billions. And they find out Clark Kent now owns all the stocks. So they go up to Clark Kent and they're like, "Hey, this oil well isn't doing all that great, Clark Kent. We'll give you like $6,000 for all your oil shares. How's that sound?" And he turns to them and is like, I'll take $1 million.
So wait a
Twice as
minute.
much as what he paid for it.
Yeah, but he also, not only did he fuck them, but he cheated the fucking poor people too. Wait, what?
So
What
he takes.
are you telling me right now? So, first of all, where the fuck did he get? This isn't Bruce Wayne. Where did Clark Kent get thousands of dollars to give to these people for their shares?
I have no idea, but he's got it.
So he gets rich and
Crushed a
everybody
couple
else gets
diamonds.
fucked.
Well, they got $1,000 for their share. I think they paid 1,000. They got their money back.
Okay,
So this story gets better.
oh, there's more. Okay, I'm
There's
sorry.
more.
You delivered that like that was the coup de grace. I'm like,
No,
okay, okay,
no, this gets
okay.
better. Remember, Superman saves cats from a tree. Okay, so Superman gets his million. These guys are like, we're gonna make $1 billion off this. So what's a million? We'll give him $1 million. Once again, 1940s $1 million is a lot of fucking money. That's a lot of 10-cent burgers, right?
Yeah.
Um, so he gets the $1 million. The guys are like, sweet, we're gonna make billions off this stuff, and they leave. He turns back to Superman, burns the fucking oil well to the ground, sets it on fire, destroys the oil well. So they are screwed. Now
Does he
think
give
about
any of the
this.
money to the poor people?
No. And the other fun thing is, like, think of the environmental damage he just did destroying that oil well and setting it on fire.
Oh, wow. It sounds like the guy that would eventually work for Reagan in Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, probably. But
Wow.
that's the Superman that existed originally. He was fighting for the poor, making a little on
Wow.
the side, still fighting for the poor, and then fighting the rich, That, like, oh, he was the Luigi of his time.
So I'm curious if any of that will happen in this movie.
I almost guarantee it won't,
Yeah,
but
I pretty much guarantee it won't.
it's one of those stories like when I read it, I was like, this is not the Superman I know. This is the
Yeah,
Superman.
I could see that. I could see that definitely. Yeah, I don't think of even saving cats from a tree. When I hear Superman, I just think the first thing I think is olive green, burnt orange, shit yellow, like piss yellow, or being in the back seat of the station wagon at like age 7, feeling car sick while my parents drove us to garage sales and listened to like James Taylor.
Jeez.
That's he's like only in Grant Morrison's hands has he ever interested me, and I never really read much. I bought like when he died or whatever. I remember buying fucking issue, or I don't know when he got married, some bullshit back in the fucking 90s, and even then I was like this. I don't know. He's just not my. When I was a kid, I loved the Christopher Reeves movies, but because I was a little kid,
You're a kid, yeah. That's what I like about this. It's the little kid in me that's excited about hope.
And I will say like I have a better feeling towards seeing this trailer, even though immediately recognizing it's not for me. Although the dog is that's really cool. But I think James Gunn knows what he's doing, and I think that is like the right way to do it because I just feel like that the whole Snyder verse or whatever the fuck it was called was
No,
just dumb. It was just dumb.
it, it, it
So
was. I don't know if I had this conversation with you or someone else, but I remember just like his dad sitting there, like, no, don't save me. Let me die by this tornado. And all I could think was like, no, I want to see Superman punch a tornado. Come on, it's Superman.
wait, was that in which I've only seen
Man
Batman
of
versus
Steel.
Super?
Man of
Oh,
Steel
yeah, I
with
didn't see that.
Paul
Okay.
Kent's like, there's a tornado coming to the neighborhood and they're all hiding underneath the viaduct. And Paul Kent's like, Clark Kent's like, well, I can save you. And Paul's like, no, let me die. We don't want your secret to go out. It's like, just let him
What was
save
it?
you. He's Superman.
Was his dad played by Kevin Costner in that movie?
Yeah.
See, that's funny. I remember that. I was just having a conversation like an hour ago. I just don't like Kevin Costner.
I remember whoever I talked
Um,
to was like, he should have let him die. He was Kevin Costner.
yeah. Uh, Field of Dreams maybe might be an exception. It's been 30 years since I've seen it. Might be an exception. You mentioned Creature Commandos. I did watch 2 episodes of it. I like it, but it's a common comic book uh, thing with me with shows or movies. I watched 2 episodes and I just have not felt like going back to it. Um, Nothing wrong with it. I love that they're using Gogo Bordello. Like,
Oh, it's
both episodes. In fact, they're in the
out the
second
whole
fucking
thing.
episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was amazing. And I'm glad Frank Grillo's doing the voice of whatever the one guy's name is, and I'm glad Weasel's in there. I heard the 4th episode is Weasel's origin, so I'm curious about that. I'll probably get back to it.
The
What,
Frankenstein stuff is chef's kiss, in my opinion.
what did you think of the show?
I loved it. I mean, did James Gunn crawl into my head and go like, "Hey, Mike, so what else do you like? Go Bardello?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it kind of seems that way a little bit, right?
You like Bride of Frankenstein in DC Universe? Okay. Um. Oh, here we'll throw in Cersei too.
Interesting. I don't know much about the DC version of Frankenstein. I love Frankenstein. Um, so I don't know if he appears this way other than in the Grant Morrison stuff,
Did
but it's the Grant Morrison version of
yeah,
Frankenstein. Like everything, like the whole attire and everything. I was like, holy shit, wow. So
not
I don't know. Is that
attitude
like a,
though.
okay. But is that like a common look? Like, is that look specific to the Grant Morrison stuff, or is that like just
I
how he always looks?
think so. I think that's probably when I noticed him show up. Same with
Okay.
Bride. Um, I think no, the second episode does have Frankenstein and the Bride,
Yeah,
right?
he's on the boat
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, because that's where
Um,
they're like fighting through time after he kills Frankenstein.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that was a great scene.
Yeah, I guess I do. I should go back to it.
Yeah, that was really good for all, flaming guy, the radioactive guy, Doctor
Oh,
Frost.
the guy that's on the team that's voiced by
Tuvok,
the voice. Yeah, yeah,
Alan
Tudyk,
Tuvok.
Alan
Yeah,
Tudyk. Yeah,
yeah. His
that was
origin
cool.
episode was really good too. And there's even a Ghost Rider joke about him.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
even consider the fact that he's essentially like a Ghost Rider knockoff.
yeah. Someone calls him "Okay, Ghost Rider" and walks off. I was like, "Oh my god, someone said it."
So let's talk about your pick to read this week.
Oh yes. Ooh. Our what do we call this segment? The special reserve out of
Sure.
print out of
Is this
print
out of print?
trade. I think it's out of print. Yeah. So good luck, guys.
This is, how do you say his name? Tom Scioli?
That is better pronouncing than I could possibly do. Scioli sounds about right. Yeah, you're good at this.
IDW, published in 2019 as a
Mm-hmm.
trade, so probably came out in 2018 as a what is it, 5 issues or 6 issues?
Yeah, it's 5 issues. Um, Tom Scioli did the GI Joe versus Transformers. Great book. I'd like to do someday too. I just feel like we do enough of those already. But I
Yeah, we do.
I like how he writes. He writes like he's playing with the toys.
So that is the thing with this book. Like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I realized. Like I literally put it
Mm-hmm.
off until Saturday morning because I would look at the panels and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a workhorse, man. There's like tons and tons of panels on a lot of the pages. Like there's a lot of captions, and this is going to be work. And I'm like, I'm not sold on reading a GoBots reimagining because, like, to me, I had GoBots when I was a kid, and then I had Transformers, right? And my
Yeah.
adult mind is like, yes, you graduate from GoBots to Transformers, and you don't go back. So this, I was like, I see what they're doing, right? And it's a property that, okay, cool. So I had issues with it, but I will say I read it in one sitting. Um,
Okay.
like fairly quickly, and I did enjoy it. I don't love I think he's extremely talented. I don't love anything about his style at all. At least in this book. I don't know what the other stuff looks like. Um
Kind of the same way. It's a unique art style almost. It's very almost Jack Kirby-ish in some ways, but his
it
own.
reminds me of Mike, is it Aldred, the guy that does like Silver Surfer that everybody loves?
Madman. He was famous for Madman. A little bit, but not as colorful. I'll be the first to admit this art isn't like it's not clean art, but that's what I like about it.
Yeah,
And it's good storytelling art.
it
Um,
is.
where your Jim Lees in the world will draw one panel to tell you this whole story. He drew 15 panels showing you a fight. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like,
Yes.
and that's detail that like those guys aren't going to put. That's work these people aren't putting into this thing. You know?
It's definitely like, so first of all, the concept is it's modern, and GoBots are like the next extension of like AI, and not AI exactly, but phones or whatever, where
Oh
like
yeah,
humanity has made GoBots to do shit for people so they don't have to fucking do it. So
yeah, yeah.
it's like a
Because
product.
I like they ran out of parking, so they created robots so they could park the car.
Yes, I forgot about that. That was funny. That was like the inciting incident in creating GoBots, was so the car could
Yeah,
stand up.
yeah.
Um, but it's interesting. It is like he's playing with toys, and it's also like a little kid. Like when you're young and you play with toys, if you draw your stories like that's kind of feels like a little kid drawing this, and I think it's intentional. And
Yeah,
the other thing I think is intentional that I also is not pleasing to my eye, but I understand why he's doing it. He draws them like they look like the fucking toys. Whereas Transformers, right? The cartoon and the comic book is an optimized, we'll get back to this, it's an optimized, idealized version of the toy. So in the 80s, like you look at the Megatron toy and it looks like fucking garbage. And then you look at
yeah,
Megatron in the comic or the cartoon and you're like, why doesn't my toy look like that, right? Here, and the GoBots were all goofy looking. It was
yeah.
pre-Transformers, so they're even more goofy looking. But here he draws
They're
them exactly like they look like toys. There's no idealized
oh,
version of this. They just look
oh
like the
yeah.
toys.
I think was it Thruster, the alien, the bad guys, Psykill's command ships got arms like this, where they don't have any articulation, just like the
Yes,
toy.
yes, yes.
And
I
the
did love.
command center itself just opens up like it does as the toy, and it looks like the toy, even though
Yes,
you're like going into the background of it all and all that stuff. But I love it. Like it it's it's what makes it kind of great.
it does. I would say that this is a great book. It's not a
Yes.
book that I like. It's not great for me. Like it's not my thing, but it is great, and it really surprised me. There's like a weird. So I love the little bits of the one. There's like a code they have to break, and it's a fucking
Simon.
yeah, it's a Simon Says. There's a couple little jokes in here like that. Well, Tonka, they got to go to the Tonka building. I'm assuming
Yeah.
maybe Tonka was the company that owned the rights. I
Taco
didn't
was the
even
company
realize it.
that brought over GoBots from Japan, and they were the ones that
Okay.
made it. And they were bought out by Hasbro. Now it's all owned by Hasbro.
Okay.
But yeah, like the Tonka company's the one that made the GoBots in the book. Tonka's the company that created the GoBots. Like it's brilliant. And I like the going back to the command center, like there's that scene where Turbo's got to get to the top of the command center and he's going through all the rooms, including the cafeteria. They didn't shy away from the cafeteria. Why is there a cafeteria?
Right, I know. Right. And even like the first time you see the command center, it's open, and it's open like the toy. Like whereas,
Yeah,
like you picture to use the analogy of like Castle Grayskull, right? Like we all know what the toy looked like. When it was closed, it looked cool. When it was open, you could play in it, but it didn't look cool. It looked like
yeah,
a cross section, so it's like, oh, here's this room, and it's like 3 inches, right?
yeah,
And there's a decal that makes it look a little bit more three dimensional. And in this, like the command center literally looks like that. And not only does it look like that, and then it's like labeled like what's what, but then when the bad guys go into it, they're like, oh, it's just wide open. We can just walk in.
Yeah.
I thought that was fucking hysterical. Oh my God. But it takes a really weird, there's like an issue where it ends with like leader one has to make a decision.
Yeah.
And then the next issue, I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Did you miss
Um,
you missed something? Like, wait,
like
did
I
I
missed
miss?
something. Then I realized,
Yeah.
okay, okay, I know where this is going. But there's one of the things with the storytelling was also it would jump around between different like things going on in different groups, and I wasn't always. Oh, we're here now. Like there was a little
Yeah.
bit of like I could have used like a back at the Alamo kind of thing.
I
Um,
liked I liked as at its heart it's about, like rebellion. Like we are tired of being slaves. The
yeah,
Asimov rule that they had to break to
yes,
get the first rule of GoBots, and then they're like, yeah, they didn't really program that rule too good.
yeah, right. No,
And
it
yeah,
was.
and leader one was the not as good as he should have been, I
I liked
guess.
that too. Like gray
Yeah,
area,
like
right? Gray
yeah,
area.
he was very gray area. Yet Psykill was even worse. I really enjoyed this picture. Spacey, the cover.
Yeah.
Oh, like just huge and standing there because I had that one when I was a kid. And I like that. Like at first, I'm like, you first reading this because I've watched the show a couple times. I always had that problem when it was on in the morning for the last 5 minutes. I'd have to leave to go to school. Well, I'd only watched the first 20 minutes of it. So I knew the characters, I knew what was going on, but I never knew how the stories ended. I'm assuming the GoBots won and not the Renegades because they were there every week. I like that, like, oh, so they're coming from Earth. And then you hit that switch, they're like, oh, Gobatron is another planet now, and they're on that.
Yeah.
And it's, I like that's a very distinct change from the Transformers origin, yet still kind of is the Transformers origin.
So I'm just, I mean, I'm going to just say if there's anyone that hasn't read this that wants to read it, we're going to go spoilers. So
Spoilers
mute this for
here.
the next 5 minutes, okay? Um, Here's the best thing about this book, and I know you know what I'm going to say. The fact that at the end, they say we're going to go and make more Gobatron, which is their home world, right?
Yeah,
Gobatrons, and pepper it out throughout the cosmos, and we'll call them each like by their own name or whatever, right?
yeah,
Cybertron, and then
of course.
they take the guy that's the truck shows up at the end, and he's going to lead them, and he's like, "Well, I'm already making an optimized version of myself." And then they take the remains of the dead leader one and Sidekill, and they're like, "We're gonna put them together," and it's clearly Starscream.
Yeah, and I like that his buddy was like the giant gold bug or giant bumblebee with the bumblebee head inside, even though it's
Yes,
not
yes,
Bumblebee.
yes. That was fucking hysterical.
I have a friend who like thought his mom bought him that figure and he thought that was Bumblebee for years. Like he was like, wait a minute, so the Goldbug isn't Bumblebee?
Oh man. The rock things, were those GoBots or was that a totally different toy?
So there was a subline that they were trying to relaunch right around the time when the Transformers movie came out. I
Okay.
guess that's correctly. Rise of the Rock Lords, which is the Rock Transformers or Rock GoBots. They're called Rock Lords, which is why they're all religious in
Rocks.
this. Well, lords, like
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
they're all
okay.
religious in this. Like
Okay.
I like how he threw them in for like 3 pages. Like, oh yeah, here's some Rock Lords because he's cramming everything GoBot in here,
Yeah,
and I like
totally.
that. Like they gotta go find the laser rod, and I've never had the Zod toy, but I knew what the laser rod was. The thing you poke him with to get the to kill him.
Oh, is that? Oh, I didn't. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I knew from the commercial. They explained in the commercial, get the laser rod and poke Zod in the belly, and you can shut him off. And then there's the power suits that turned into a giant robot.
yeah, right. The combiner, basically, right?
Yeah, I like Psycho was trying to make the humans combine.
Yeah,
Why won't you combine? You guys are useless. Combine.
This was a really. It was an interesting book, man.
Yeah,
I gotta say, I
I
thank you
also
for
like
turning me on to this.
I like that they explained why Psycho was a giant motorcycle. He's a motorcycle for GoBots to ride.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I don't know. I think I actually liked it more than I thought that I liked it.
I think you
I mean,
did too. Like
not
when
that
you
I
stop
didn't
and
like
think
it,
about
but
it, it's hysterical
it is hysterical.
and fun. It's just outright fun. It is what I liked about this is the exact same thing. Like I said, he did a Transformers GI Joe crossover, and it's just like watching him play with toys. It's like you're
Yes,
reading this guy playing with your toys. It doesn't really feel like it's a story. It's a good story, but it's a story like you could see I see the action figures in the panels like this,
yes,
like, oh, I'm going to kill you. I'll take care of
yes,
you.
exactly,
As opposed to like a
exactly.
comic book where you don't get that feeling. Because as you said, they're drawn a different way. They're drawn how they should look, not based on the toys what with the faults that the toys have. Oh,
Did you see this thing in the back? I'm just noticing this now. I don't see any explanation for what this is, but the very last page. So if you flip to the very last page, right, and
mhm.
you get this page of Psykill and Leader One fighting, flip it over, and there's rough layouts for Leader One finding the dead Transformers in the Ark, and Megatron's laying on the
Oh, I
ground.
didn't get that far either. Must have been a alternate ending.
Something, yeah, maybe something very bad happened here. Play ship log. This footage is from 4 million years ago. We're waiting the last bat. We're watching the last battle of two ancestor gods.
Maybe that was his original ending. I'm glad I didn't go with it because I like the ending of them kind of coming. And then look, there's like Psykill's father was the Junkions in
Yeah.
one.
Oh yeah. Oh shit, my father. Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah,
wow. That's really
I like
interesting.
he was
Yeah,
trying to fit it in there. Yeah.
there's like leader one next to Megatron laying unconscious or whatever, or inoperative, and he says like great grandfather. Wow, interesting.
I guess the idea is that it came from Transformers originally, then they became the Transformers. I
Well,
can see them trying.
you know why he didn't use this is because they ended up going the other way and saying that basically the GoBots are the ancestors of the Transformers, so this wouldn't have
Yeah,
fit.
yeah, exactly. Which I like better because technically they came out first.
Yeah, it's cleaner too. I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty
Oh,
good, Mike. I gotta say,
yeah.
thank you.
I also enjoyed how Leader One had the corpse of his buddy inside him for like years.
Yes, the skeleton. That was pretty
I think they
funny.
open up and his skeleton buddies is still in there.
Skeleton Buddy. That was a short-lived '80s toy. It's kind of fucked up. All right, well, that's GoBots, and
Go bots.
this is Drinking with Comics, and we'll come back and talk about something new soon. I don't know what
Yeah,
that'll be, but it'll be
we'll find
something.
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 Something
So,
old, something new, something borrowed, something blue.
okay, we can do that. I'm Sean.
Ooh, I'm Mike.
Hi, I'm Sean. Join me and my friends every week for the Horror Vision, where we talk about horror movies.